Good morning and welcome to yet another very special edition of Coffee with Cole. I have another special guest with me. This is Jessica Jones,
Hi.
Joey's better half. She is here with me to discuss another lending topic. How are you this morning, Jess?
Good. I'm happy to be here.
Good. I'm really happy to have you. I love Joe, but you're a lot more fun than he is. But anyway, I digress. I want to talk about not only your role on the team, but what the process goes from getting an offer accepted to the closing table. It's about a 30 to 45 day process, depending on how we write it in the contract. And I want to know kind of what goes into it. But first, explain to me, what is your role? What's your job title, and what is it that you do?
Well, I am a managing loan partner, and so basically I assist Joey with the pre-approval process, and then once the client goes under contract, then I'm with them until closing day.
Gotcha.
I work with them, I work with the processor, I work with the underwriter, the real estate agents, appraisers, everyone, just to get them to closing day as stress-free as possible.
Awesome. So basically, to use that old sexist catchphrase, behind every successful man is a strong, successful woman, that is Jess. Every buyer that I've used with Joe and Jess, Joe does a lot of the upfront stuff and answers the big questions. But the majority of the communication between you and the buyer during this critical time, this underwriting, the process, comes from you, mainly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mainly from me and our process.
So you're going to be getting a lot of emails from Jess, and kind of walk me through. I know there's a lot that goes into it, and you work very hard during that crunch time. From the time you get an accepted contract sent over from me to the day that we sit down at the closing table and sign all the paperwork, give me a general overview of what exactly happens to their file.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of things that go into a lot of people working on your file too. You know, there's 10 to 15 people that will touch your file during this process, with you being the first domino of the transaction. So usually everything has to come from you and then goes. So basically we get a contract and the initial disclosures go out. Joey will set up a time to talk to you about what loan program, etc. that you want to do. And then he'll have me send out initial disclosures. We send those out, and they're basically a general overview of what your loan terms are. A lot of things are estimates on them, so they're not exactly to the penny.
Sure.
You're going to get multiple disclosures throughout the process, so don't be freaked out about them. And then at that time, I'll also send you a list of stuff. I'll go through your file again, make sure that everything's updated, and I'll send you a list of stuff that's going to be needed for processing to review.
Yeah, and that list is usually pretty long.
It is a very long list.
They
usually
require a lot of information in order to get the loan approved. What kind of information are you going to be asking for?
Basically, I'm just going to look for updated bank statements, updated pay stubs, you know, if we need a letter of explanation on something, if there was some documentation maybe we didn't have yet,
Right.
we might need new documents signed. It just varies on everyone, but
The short answer is everything.
yeah, the short is everything. I mean, we go through everything again, the whole entire file. So if you got pre-approved last week, maybe I won't need as much stuff. But if you got pre-approved 3 months ago, then we're going to need to update a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And then once your initial disclosures come back, you're going to e-sign those, and we can legally start working on your file once the e-signed disclosures are signed. Then we'll submit your file into processing, and hopefully we'll have mostly everything that was on that list with the initial disclosures. And the processor is going to review, again, your file just to make sure they don't see anything that we're missing or anything additional is needed to go into initial underwriting.
Okay.
And the processor will reach out to you if need be, or if not, they'll just go ahead and submit your file into initial underwriting.
Which is the hope, and which is why we ask for all those things up front, is that the processor, we want to make their job quick and easy so that we can get it into initial underwriting.
Yeah, and the underwriter likes to have a full file. You know, it's like you have to see the full file to be able to make a credit decision on someone. So the underwriter will review your file and make sure that you meet the guidelines in your credit and income and everything's good to go, and they will typically issue a conditional approval. And what a conditional approval is, it just means, yes, we're going to fund your loan if you provide these conditions. Conditions can be anything from letters of explanation, another bank statement, you know, dot your I, cross your T. Usually nothing scary because we get everything up front. Other items are like the appraisal hasn't come in yet,
Right.
or title work, or homeowner's insurance. So
Right.
there's third-party items that go into that conditional approval
Okay.
too. And then once we get everything on all the conditions, we submit your file back into underwriting for the clear to close review, and then ta-da, you're clear to close.
That's the best email. You're going to get a
Yeah.
lot of emails from a lot of different people during the process. But one of the things that I love about working with Joe and Jess is that they not only keep you, the buyer, appraised of what's going on, and you always know where the process is, and they're always available to answer questions, but they also keep me in line as well, so I can know, okay, where are we at in the process? Do I need to help with anything? Do I need to follow up with the appraisal? And those kind of things. Those are really important keys, and communication is everything in this world. And thankfully, in our technological age, emails can go back and forth very quickly. So perfect. Well then, the other question that I get, and it's usually from a buyer about 20 days into the process, is why so much? Why is there so much documentation needed? Why do so many people look at it? Like, why has it become so hard to get a home?
Well, after the mortgage meltdown, they made guidelines a lot more stricter, and so
Okay.
there has to be a lot more verifications, and it's basically to protect you as a consumer, that you're not going to get into a bad situation here in a couple years that you'd have to foreclose upon your house, which obviously we
Knock on
saw,
wood.
which we saw collapse the economy, which
Yeah.
was not good for anybody.
Yeah. So it's a safety measure. It may be a little bit annoying during that process to get all these things, but that little headache during that 30-day, 45-day period is a lot better than a huge headache of foreclosure, being in over your head in a loan that you can't afford. And that's what that's there to avoid. So here's another question that I have that I feel like most buyers should ask, but a lot of times don't. What are the things that they can do to negatively affect a loan process?
Well, definitely don't go buy a new car during the process.
Right.
Or change your jobs unless Joey or I or your lender knows about it. That's very important.
Right.
Don't make huge purchases while you're under contract until after closing day, because that can cause additional documentation for you. It could turn an approval into a denial really quick, which nobody wants.
Right.
Basically, on bank statements, large deposits, just make sure that you're aware that we're going to have to source any large deposit. So whether if it's transferred from another account, or if it was a gift, or if you sold something, we'll have to get some documentation for that. So just be aware, because it's really easy to transfer money nowadays.
Yeah, and a lot of these things won't necessarily kill a transaction. It could delay it. It could cause another step in the process, an explanation letter, just a little extra that you don't have to do if you just avoid doing that. The biggest thing that I notice is first-time home buyers, or even second-time home buyers, they're 10 days away from closing, they're a week away from closing, and they've gotten that clear to close, or it's looking great, it's going to close, and then they go out to Nebraska Furniture Mart and buy their living room set because they're excited for their new home. Just wait that extra week. They'll deliver it to your new home. Just wait a little bit, because you could add yourself a little bit of headache. So
That's definitely.
yeah, well, very cool. Well, thank you so much, Jess. That
Thanks
was
for
very
having me.
informative. And we'll see you next week.
All right. Cheers.
All right.